The night it started, I was wearing the sweater she gave me for our anniversary, navy blue, slightly itchy, but looked good on me, or so she claimed. The dinner table was set, candles lit, her favorite wine, already breathing, 2 plates, untouched. She walked in 30 minutes late, heels clicking on the hardwood, laughter still fresh on her lips, someone else's joke, no doubt. Her hair was windblown, like she'd been moving fast or had just come undone. And she didn't notice the table, or the effort, or me. Traffic was brutal, she said, dropping her purse with a thud. Hope you didn't wait. I did, of course. Like a magician waits for the rabbit that never shows up. It's fine, I lied. You hungry? She shrugged, toeing off her heels. Had a late lunch. I watched the candle wax harden mid-drip. I remember thinking even gravity had lost interest in this evening. That night, I cleaned the table alone. 2 full plates of steak and asparagus, dumped down the disposal. Anniversary number 7. Lucky number, right? At least, that's what we used to joke. Seemed fitting now, if luck came with sarcasm. She didn't ask why I'd gone quiet. She didn't notice I didn't sleep in the bed. The next morning, she left early for a strategy meeting, which I later found out was just code for brunch with a man who wore cologne too confidently. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. This is how it starts, see, not with a slap or a scream or a sudden departure. It starts in the silence between 2 people who used to reach for each other and now just reach for their phones. And in that silence, I heard something. Not a sound. A shift. The kind you feel in your gut before your brain catches up. She had changed. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But surgically. The way someone might swap a photograph in a frame while you're sleeping. I started watching. Not spying, just noticing. The way she smiled at her texts. The way her eyes dimmed when I said her name. The missing wedding ring on a Tuesday. Always Tuesday. I asked once, you okay? She smiled. Of course. Why? That was the thing about her. She could lie in lowercase. No fuss. No stammer. Just smooth. So I smiled back. Just wondering. Because I knew. I didn't know everything yet. But I knew enough. And as it turns out, knowing is worse than finding out. Because once you know, you start collecting the evidence of your own downfall like souvenirs. The evidence came quietly. Not in lipstick stains or late-night whispers. No, it came in the form of a voice memo. She sent it by accident. One of those long-press recordings people send when they think they're clever or too lazy to text. It came at 11:07 p.m. on a Thursday. I was brushing my teeth. I pressed play, expecting some muffled kitchen noises, maybe her humming or a reminder for almond milk. What I got instead was this. He doesn't even notice anymore. It's like living with a painting. Nice to look at, but nothing's behind it. Then laughter. Not hers. His. I dropped the toothbrush. I didn't need a private investigator or a tracking device. I had her words, straight from her mouth to mine, via Bluetooth. For the record, I'm not the jealous type. I'm the plan it out, gather your facts, don't make a fool of yourself type. So I didn't storm into the room and demand answers. I didn't throw anything. I just sat on the couch and replayed the message 5 times. And when she walked in an hour later, smelling like someone else's evening, I looked at her and said, "How was the meeting?" She paused, just for a second. But it was long enough. Productive, she said. Long. I replied, nodding like a man who believed her. I bet it was. She kissed my cheek. That little routine peck that meant nothing and missed everything. And I sat there, tasting the lie on my skin. I saved the voice memo, sent it to my email, labeled it Exhibit A, because the trial hadn't started yet. But I was preparing my case. We were still in the phase where you pretend nothing's broken because you haven't figured out how to say it out loud. So when she suggested hosting a dinner party, I said yes. Because nothing says stable marriage like feeding 6 people you secretly want to throttle. We cleaned the house like it mattered. She set the table. I opened a bottle of wine I'd been saving for our next anniversary, because irony pairs well with roast chicken, apparently. The guests arrived. Couples, mostly. Friends who'd known us back when her laugh was real and my back didn't carry this much weight. We smiled. We played nice. Someone made a joke about how she always got her way. She winked and said, "That's how I trained him." Laughter. Even mine. But inside, I was taking notes. She floated around the room, touching shoulders, pouring drinks, laughing a little too loudly at someone else's story. And when I offered to refill her glass, she said, "Don't worry, I'm being taken care of." My fingers didn't tremble. My smile didn't falter. but my grip on the bottle nearly cracked the glass. Later, as everyone left, she kissed me in front of them. On the lips. Like a performance. See, she said, as the door closed behind the last guest. Still got it. She didn't mean love. She meant control. I washed the dishes alone. She fell asleep on the couch. And I stood there in the kitchen, drying plates we no longer needed, thinking how strange it is to be so alone next to someone who swears they love you. I opened my laptop that night, created a folder, named it Exit Strategy. I didn't set out to follow her. I was just passing through downtown after work, the kind of detour you take when you don't want to go home yet. It was Friday, light rain, the kind that clings to your windshield like it's trying to read your thoughts. I saw her through the window of that Italian place on Park and 6th. You know the one, candles in little red jars, accordion music always playing a little too loud. She hated it. Said it was tacky. Chain food for people who don't know pasta. So imagine my surprise when she was laughing over a plate of spaghetti at table 6, leaned forward, eyes soft, with a man whose face I didn't recognize, but whose hand was resting awfully close to hers. I didn't go in. I parked across the street, killed the engine, and watched like a tourist witnessing the ruins of his own life. She wasn't cheating on me. No, that would have required her to still be in this with me. What I was watching wasn't betrayal, it was replacement. She laughed that laugh she used to save for me. The one where her head tilts back just slightly, eyes half closed, like the joke was a gift. I remember the first time she laughed like that with me. I'd burned a pancake and said, well, at least I'm consistent. Now she was giving that same laugh to him. Table 6 guy. He had the kind of haircut you get at places with marble countertops and sparkling water in the waiting room. His shirt was crisp, no wrinkles. Not a single dog hair. Definitely not from our house. And she looked young, not because she was, but because she wanted to be. You could tell by the extra effort, lipstick she never wore around me, earrings I'd never seen, and a dress I'm pretty sure still had the store tag tucked behind her. That's when it hit me. This wasn't an affair. This was an audition. She was trying out a version of herself that didn't have my shadow behind it. The confident, mysterious woman who never once folded a man's laundry. The woman who orders wine like she understands it and laughs at jokes before the punchline lands. She was trying on freedom, and it fit her better than I wanted to admit. I didn't confront her. I didn't want to give her that satisfaction. I just watched them finish dinner, walk to his car, his hand at the small of her back, and drive off. I memorized the plates. Out of habit. Not out of spite. When I got home, the lights were off. She'd left a throw blanket on the couch and her laptop open on the coffee table. There was a Word document on the screen, cursor blinking at the top of a blank page. The title? Personal Statement. I didn't read it. I closed the laptop. Respect, or maybe just denial. She came home around midnight. Didn't bother sneaking in. Just dropped her keys loudly like she always did, sighed into the silence, and walked straight into the kitchen for water. Late night? I asked from the dark. She jumped. Jesus, you scared me. Sorry, I said. Didn't mean to interrupt. She squinted toward the hallway. Why are you sitting in the dark? Thinking, I replied. Apparently I do that now. She opened the fridge, took out the filtered pitcher, and poured water like we were discussing weekend plans. You okay? I nodded. Yeah, you. She drank. Didn't answer. That silence stretched between us like a rubber band, when I wasn't sure would snap or just quietly slip off and disappear. I finally said, saw you downtown. She froze, glass halfway to the sink. What? Park and 6th, spaghetti. Table 6, I think. She turned slowly. Were you following me? No. Just lucky, I guess. She looked away, pressing her lips together like a child caught in a lie too small to justify, too large to explain. It's not what it looks like, she said. Then explain it. I can't, she admitted. Not without hurting you. That made me laugh. Not loud. Just one of those dry, brittle sounds that come out when everything inside you's been squeezed past empty. Hurt me, I said. You're 3 months late. She set the glass down carefully, like sudden movement might shatter what was left of our civility. I didn't plan it. It just happened. No, I said, standing up. Falling happens. This? This took coordination. Wardrobe. Reservations. Lipstick. You choreographed this. I needed to feel something, she whispered. And I didn't? I took a step closer, not threatening, just tired. You think I didn't feel the silence? The distance? You think I didn't notice you stopped saying my name like it meant something? She looked at me, tears welling up, and I realized something awful. I didn't care. Not anymore. That night, I packed a second bag, this time not just for work or a guilt trip weekend at her sister's. I packed the things that mattered. Not because I was leaving, because I needed to remember what I was before I was hers. And on my way out, she said something that stopped me cold. I still love you. I turned. No, I said. You love the idea of me. The safe version. The backup plan. But you don't love me. Not the real me. She opened her mouth, but I didn't wait. I closed the door quietly. Sometimes it's not the scream that ends things. It's the silence after. Funny thing about leaving a marriage, it doesn't feel like leaving a person. It feels like leaving a version of yourself behind. One you barely recognize but still feel responsible for. I didn't just walk out of our home. I ghosted the man who used to apologize for things he didn't do, smile through dinner parties he didn't want, and sleep beside someone who wasn't really there. First week out, I stayed with my cousin. Spare room, floral bedsheets, a window that let in too much morning, and a dog that barked every time I shifted. He didn't ask questions. Just handed me a beer and said, "You've got that look." I didn't ask what he meant. I already knew. She texted twice the first day. "Are you okay? Just let me know where you are." I didn't answer either. By day 3, she switched to voicemail. Her voice was soft, rehearsed. I didn't want it to be like this. I'm confused. Funny how betrayal always comes dressed as confusion. Like she tripped and fell into another man's arms. I started walking in the evenings. Long, aimless walks past neighborhoods with Christmas lights still up in January. Saw families eating dinner through their windows, couples arguing in driveways, kids doing homework at kitchen tables. I envied all of them, not for their happiness, but for their certainty. Even the ones mid-argument knew who they were, what they were fighting for. Me? I was a memory in motion, a ghost with car keys and a forwarding address. On day 5, I got a call from her sister, Lorna, the nice one, the one who once told me, quietly, if she ever leaves, you'll be the one everyone misses. She said, "I don't want to get in the middle, but I thought you should know, she's not doing great." "She was doing fine at table 6, I replied. Long pause. "You saw?" "Yeah. And you still left?" "I was already gone." Lorna didn't argue. She just sighed. "I'm sorry." "Me too." I hung up. Not angrily. Just done. That night, I got into my old email account, the one I hadn't touched in years, the one tied to everything before we got married. Password still worked. Muscle memory's a funny thing. I found photos, honeymoon candids, road trip snapshots, birthday cakes with candles bent from storage. I stared at one where we were on a Ferris wheel, both of us laughing, windblown, sun-dazed. And I didn't feel pain. Just distance. Like looking at someone else's life and thinking, they look happy. On day 7, she showed up. I heard her before I saw her. Engine idling, door slam, heels clicking up the walkway. I opened the door before she knocked. Her eyes were rimmed red, makeup smudged, hair pulled back in a ponytail she didn't care to fix. "I just need to talk," she said. "About what?" "Us." "There is no us," I said. She stepped back like I'd hit her. "You don't mean that." I stepped onto the porch, pulled the door behind me. "I do." Her lip quivered. "I made a mistake." "No," I said. "You made a choice. A mistake is wearing shoes that don't match your belt. You chose another man while I was setting the dinner table." She looked like she wanted to collapse. I didn't catch her. "I thought I needed something else," she whispered. "And now, I miss how it felt to be loved without needing to earn it." That hit harder than anything she said, because I knew exactly what she meant. But I didn't say so. Instead, I reached into my back pocket and handed her a flash drive. Small. Silver. Familiar. "What's this?" "Everything I wanted to say," I replied. Emails I never sent. Voice memos I recorded after fights. Screenshots of your texts to him. A journal I kept for 2 years, trying to figure out if I was crazy or just invisible. She took it like it was radioactive. "Why give this to me?" "Because now, you get to feel what it's like to hear the truth in your own voice." She clutched it like a lifeline. Is there any part of you that still loves me?" I didn't flinch. "I think part of me always will," I said. "But I'm not going to let that part run my life anymore." She blinked fast. "What happens now?" I stepped down from the porch. "I heal. You figure out if what you did was worth it. And if not, you live with that." Like I did. I walked past her, down the steps, past her car. Didn't look back. She didn't follow. That night, I slept better than I had in a year. Because I finally understood the difference between closure and permission. She didn't give me either, so I gave them to myself. There's a version of me that stayed. He nodded when she lied. He made excuses for her absences. He lit candles, bought flowers, planned weekend getaways to places he couldn't pronounce, all to resuscitate something that had already signed its DNR. I hate that guy. He was good, loyal, naive, but mostly, he was afraid. Afraid to leave something just because it was familiar. I used to be him, but not anymore. After she left the porch that night, I didn't celebrate. I didn't cry. I just sat in the guest room where I'd been staying and stared at a lamp that buzzed louder than the thoughts in my head. I thought about the flash drive in her hand. I wondered if she'd open it, read the files, hear my voice recorded in those half-conscious, 2 a.m. ramblings. Truth is, I didn't care. I hadn't given it to her for closure. I'd given it to her as a mirror. Let her see what it looks like when you take a man for granted, then ask him to thank you for the privilege. The next morning, I opened a new bank account. Clean slate. Just my name. Just my future. Closed our joint account later that afternoon. Didn't need her approval. Didn't leave a note. The teller, a young woman with a sleeve of tattoos and a quiet sympathy in her eyes, said, "Starting over?" Something like that, I said. She nodded. Then here's to new beginnings. That night, I found an apartment. Tiny. Drafty. Smelled faintly of old paint and lost dreams. But it was mine. Every creak in the floorboard, every stain on the carpet, it all belonged to me. There's something oddly powerful about waking up in a place no one else has ever kissed you goodnight. I moved in with 1 suitcase and 3 boxes. No framed wedding photos. No hand-me-down furniture. Just essentials. And silence. The kind that doesn't feel like punishment, just peace. A week went by. Then 2. Then came the email. Subject line, "Can we talk?" I didn't open it. Next came the texts. Polite. Measured. Desperate in their restraint. Then came the letter. Yes, an actual handwritten letter. Folded neatly in an envelope with my name written in cursive. She dropped it off. I recognized the perfume before I even broke the seal. Inside? Apologies. Regret. A few poetic metaphors she probably copied from a breakup song. And one line that almost made me laugh. "I never thought you'd actually leave." That right there? That was the real confession. She never thought I had it in me. And maybe I didn't, until she showed me who I really was. Not a husband. Not a placeholder. Not a backup plan. But a man. A whole one. You see, you don't know what you're made of until someone tries to hollow you out and replace the stuffing with excuses. And when they do, you either crumble, or you stand up straighter. A few days later, I ran into her friend Alicia. Grocery store. Frozen foods aisle. She spotted me reaching for a box of microwave pasta and said, "Wow, you look better. Better. Healthier," she added. Calmer. I nodded. "Divorce will do that." She didn't laugh. Just tilted her head and said, "She misses you." "She misses the version of me that let her stay comfortable," I said. "You were good to her. I was too good to her." We parted ways in aisle 7. That night, I made a list. Nothing fancy. Just a pen and a legal pad. Title: Things I gave up for her. Friends I didn't call back. Trips I never took. Dishes I washed while she scrolled her phone. Apologies I made when I wasn't wrong. Dreams I shelved for later. Quiet parts of myself I never got back. I stared at the list for a long time. Then I wrote one more thing. The belief that love is supposed to hurt. Folded the paper. Slipped it in my wallet. Next time someone asked what happened, I'd show them that list. Because this wasn't about infidelity anymore. This wasn't about a dinner she didn't come home for, or a man in a blazer waiting at table 6. This was about the slow erosion of worth. The kind that happens when you're too in love to notice you've stopped being seen. She still sends letters. 1 every 2 weeks. I read them sometimes. But I don't respond. Because there's a second version of me now. And he finally knows how to say no. By the 3rd letter, she stopped writing like a wife and started writing like a historian. You know the tone. That careful, reflective language people use when they're trying to rewrite something without sounding like they're rewriting it. She'd started phrases with things like, "Back then, I think we both," or "Looking at it now, I realize," always that soft, nostalgic framing, as if what happened wasn't betrayal. Just a series of unfortunate misunderstandings wrapped in wine and weekend getaways. She even used the word misstep to describe sleeping with someone else. A misstep. Like she tripped into his hotel room. I didn't respond. But I didn't shred the letter either. I filed it with the rest in a box under the bed of my new apartment, next to my unused wedding cufflinks and the broken Bluetooth speaker she said she'd fixed 6 months ago. Some things, I suppose, stay broken just to make a point. Meanwhile, I'd started building new rituals. Waking up early, walking to the corner diner where no one knew my name and the coffee tasted like burnt honesty. I bought a used bike and rode it through neighborhoods I didn't belong to. I stopped shaving for a while. Grew a beard that itched like the past but made me look like someone she wouldn't recognize in passing. And that helped. I reconnected with a friend I hadn't seen in years. Jamie. Met at a bar, the kind with sticky tables and good fries. We talked about everything but her. Not because I couldn't, but because I didn't need to. Somewhere in that conversation, he said, "You ever think about what comes next?" I nodded. Every day. Like what? I paused. Like what I'll build that no one can take away this time. Because that's what healing becomes after a while, not fixing what broke, but protecting what's left. Not patching the wall she kicked in, but building a new house where no one's allowed to touch the thermostat but me. She sent another letter the week after. No metaphors this time. No poetry. Just this. If you ever decide to talk, I'll listen. That was the closest she'd come to surrender. Not an apology. Just admission. And strangely, I respected that. But I still didn't write back. Instead, I took a trip. Nothing wild. Just a drive up north to the cabin my grandfather left us. I hadn't been there in years. She always said it was too rustic, too quiet, too far from good brunch options. That's exactly why I went. The silence there was different. It didn't accuse or sulk or wait for answers. It just was steady, like the trees. Old, like the floorboards. Honest. I spent 2 days chopping firewood, fixing a leaky pipe, and sitting on the porch with a mug full of cheap whiskey and better thoughts. I didn't think about her. I thought about who I used to be before I was in love with someone who wasn't. And on the third morning, I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I smiled. Not the polite kind. Not the version you wear at family events to convince people you're okay. This one was real. Brief. But mine. I came back from that trip with a sunburn, a clearer head, and one resolution. I would give myself the thing she never did. Forgiveness. Not for what she did, but for what I allowed myself to believe. For staying too long. For calling it love when it had turned into duty. For thinking loyalty meant silence. The next time she texted, I responded with 5 words. You don't need to explain. She didn't write back. I think she understood. It wasn't permission. It was release. That night, I burned the letters. All of them. No drama. No music playing in the background. Just me in the parking lot behind my apartment with a metal tin, a lighter, and the knowledge that I'd finally made room. For peace. For newness. For something better than the version of love that needs footnotes and disclaimers. It's strange how quiet freedom is. Colder than I expected. But cleaner. I was in aisle 4, staring down a jar of pasta sauce I didn't need, when her name lit up my phone. I hadn't seen it in weeks. No preview message. Just her contact name, still saved under wife. I hadn't bothered changing it. I let it ring out. She called again 10 minutes later. Then she texted. We need to talk. I messed up. Please. No punctuation on the please. Like her voice would have cracked if she said it out loud. I didn't respond. I paid for my things, drove home, and made spaghetti with the cheap store-brand sauce. It tasted fine. Loneliness always adds seasoning. Next morning, she was waiting outside my building. Leaning against the hood of her car, arms folded, sunglasses hiding whatever truth her eyes might have betrayed. She didn't look broken. She looked determined. And that scared me more. I approached slowly. She straightened up. You look different, she said. People do that when they leave the blast zone. She flinched. I deserve that. You deserve more than that, I said. But I'm feeling polite today. She took a shaky breath. I've been going to therapy. I've been trying to understand what I did. Why I did it. Let me save you the copay, I said. You were unhappy. You wanted something else. You found it, temporarily, in someone who wasn't me. It wasn't about him. Of course not. It never is. She bit her lip. I want to fix this. I laughed. Not cruelly. Just exhausted. You can't fix what you burned down. I was scared. You were selfish. I know, she whispered. I thought you'd always be there. I thought I had time. I looked at her for a long moment, then said, You don't. She cried. The kind of cry you save for airport goodbyes and funeral parking lots. I didn't touch her. Not because I didn't want to, but because it wasn't mine to soothe anymore. I still love you, she choked out. I believe you, I replied. But that's not enough. She nodded slowly, tears soaking into the collar of the coat I bought her 2 Christmases ago. Can I at least say I'm sorry? You can, I said. But don't expect it to change anything. That night, she sent one final message. Thank you for being the kind of man I wasn't ready for. That one, I saved. Not out of nostalgia. Out of closure. Because that was the last time she reached out. And that's when I realized I hadn't lost her. She'd lost me. Spring rolled in like it owed me something. I moved to a better place. Still small, but brighter. The kind of apartment with a window you want to sit by. I bought real furniture, nothing borrowed, nothing salvaged from the wreckage. I started going out more. I smiled at strangers. I even flirted once. It felt rusty, but good. Jamie introduced me to someone, Clara, bookstore owner. Smart. Quiet in the way people are when they're listening instead of waiting to talk. We had coffee, then dinner, then silence that didn't feel like punishment. I told her my story. All of it. She didn't flinch. She just said, "You're not broken. You're just awake now." I like that. We didn't jump into anything. There were no fireworks, no slow-motion montages. Just good conversation and a feeling I hadn't felt in years, calm. And then, one afternoon, I found myself back at the old neighborhood. By accident or instinct, I'm still not sure. Her car was gone. For sale sign in the yard. Our house, my former house, was empty. I stood across the street for a long time, just staring. And you know what I felt? Nothing. Not bitterness. Not sadness. Just closure. I walked away. For good. It came months later. A message from her cousin. Subject line, "Have you seen this?" Attached was a post. A photo of my ex and him, the one from table 6. Not kissing. Not smiling. Just sitting at opposite ends of a lawyer's office. The caption? Some things aren't meant to last. Grateful for growth. Growth. Sure. Apparently he left her. Rumor was he cheated. The poetic symmetry of it almost made me laugh. She'd bet on temporary fireworks and lost her shelter. And now? She was posting quotes about resilience and healing, hoping likes could patch the hole where her marriage used to be. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt nothing at all. Because revenge doesn't always come in rage. Sometimes it comes in the form of distance. Of knowing you survived something that tried to erase you. Of knowing that the version of you they abandoned is the same version someone else is praying to find. I never raised my voice. I never sought revenge. But I rebuilt myself in silence. And that, my friend, is louder than anything she'll ever scream.